Good evening. Today was a full moon and lunar eclipse. I think it's still going on. So it is said that during lunar eclipse, I think everything multiplies to 10 million times. And solar eclipse, it multiplies into 100 million times. I guess time is relative. Einstein theory of relativity. I don't know what Einstein would say, how many million times. But in the Dharma teaching it says that lunar eclipse 10 million times, solar eclipse 100 million times. You do good is 10 million, you do bad is 10 million. So it's pretty risky. And beside, on top of that, full moon usually is 1,000 times. Full moon, interesting, you know. I think women go through cycles. Some women told me they go through emotion on full moon. I don't know. Some told me. Few women I have conversation told me. Cycle something. So I think inner emotion and how it increases, it's all relative, of course. So, tonight, the teaching is on Vajrayana, Mantrayana, Tantrayana, diamond vehicle, Tibetan word Chhoje Tulku, which is called diamond vehicle, then Mantrayana, Tantrayana, and there's lots of connotation about Tantra in the West. Usually when they say Tantra, it relates to some kind of Kundalini and Kama Sutra. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be that. But understanding of Tantra is far more deeper. I think we have a lot of conceptual generally about sex. People kind of look, the moment we talk about sex, it's kind of like a taboo subject. You know, people try not to talk about it. But it's also true that we all are born out of mother's womb. If they didn't have a sex, we wouldn't be here. Also, is a fact. Then the question is, you know, there are a lot of questions. Hindu Tantra. I think Tantra first came from the Hindu teaching. Then when Buddhism came after Hinduism, obviously Hinduism was before, Hinduism was before Buddhism. Hinduism, a great deal of teaching on shamatha. They have meditation, shamatha meditation. There are Hindu saints in India. Some say they haven't eaten human food for like few years. They take the element. How do they do that? There's similar techniques are incorporated in Buddhism, but there is a huge difference between Buddhist Tantra and Hindu Tantra. Buddhist Tantra, what makes a difference between Buddhist Tantra and Hindu Tantra is based on bodhicitta. Hindu Tantra doesn't have bodhicitta. is based on the notion of soul, Atma, fundamentally. While Buddhism, Anatma, no soul, doesn't mean that they're soulless. There's a huge difference how we interpreted the meaning of soul. Buddhism says there is mind, and nature of the mind is emptiness. Hinduism say nature of the mind is Atma and is permanent. Now what is the definition of Atma, the soul? Very similar to Christian teaching, Judaism, Hinduism, all the rest is an eternalistic belief. So we examine what Buddhists are saying, what eternalists are saying, what nihilists are saying, which makes sense. So we need to discover that by ourselves. And Buddha said, don't take my teaching because I said so. Analyze, check. And if you think what I've said is true, then follow it. You don't have to follow because I said so. That's historical Buddha's own word. Gelongtak, the monks, check my teaching, what I said. Don't take it because I said so. Check it, analyze. Like you will check if you buy a piece of gold, whether the gold is pure or whether the gold is mixed. Then once you find if the gold is pure, then you would buy. If the gold is mixed 50%, 50% something else, you don't want to buy that gold. Likewise, don't take it because I said so. So from the very beginning, Dharma allows you to question Dharma. Dharma never say you should follow it blind faith. It has to be logic. That's so important. And if you think it makes sense, then you can take it. If you think it doesn't make sense, you don't have to follow it because Buddha said so. So many teachings are written after Buddha's passing into nirvana. Lots of Hinayana teaching, Mahayana teaching, then Vajrayana teaching. Lots of debates are done on the meaning of the emptiness. Hundreds of texts were written on explaining emptiness. What is emptiness? What is clear light? What's the nature of the mind? So much so, scholars, succession over the centuries came and wrote. They meditate, not just theory, meditate and analyze. And a lot of teaching establish. So that's how Buddhism works. You never have to be afraid that you will go to hell because you just don't believe in what Buddha said. But you may go to hell if you do the wrong thing. And by the way, Buddha never created hell, and he's not the cause of hell either. And Buddha is not the, your basic goodness is the very cause of your happiness. And Buddha didn't invent that like an Intel company or Microsoft or Apple. It is your basic goodness. And there is no difference between your basic goodness and the basic goodness of the Buddhas of the three times. They're exactly the same. Buddha just discovered that, and he just said, this is how phenomena works. On a relative level, then absolute level. So many teaching given on that, levels of gradual teachings and absolute teachings. Esoteric teaching, exoteric teaching. I think many traditions have, secret teaching. Christianity also have the, what do they call? Gnostic. Yeah, and then Judaism have Kabbalah and general teaching in Kabbalah. Christianity has Gnostic and literal teaching. Buddhism has literal teaching and indirect meaning and secret meaning. In fact, Buddhism is far more, goes deeper. It says, when you receive a teaching from the teacher, you don't receive a teaching from individual. You need to rely, you do not rely on the individual, you rely on the teaching. You rely on the teaching of the meaning, not the words. You rely on the meaning of absolute, not of relative. You rely on the meaning of absolute, on wisdom, meaning of the absolute, based on wisdom, not based on duality. So it goes deeper and deeper and deeper to your awareness, finally. In order to do that, you need some kind of understanding also, right? Otherwise, how can you go through that? What is first? What is, relative? What is absolute? What is the conventional absolute? What is the unconventional absolute? You need to have some progress, understanding of those step by step. Otherwise, it's easy to say by words, but then that meaning is so deep. That means certain level of study, certain level of reflection, certain level of meditation has to go, so you have some direct inner insight experience in your mind to able to use that intelligence. Of course, enlightened mind is intelligence. And confusion is also intelligence, but it's a misconstrued intelligence, misconceptual intelligence. Intelligence go wrong. It's like we have like a electric wire hook up in this room, and if the one thing goes here, some electric short, then the whole thing will fuse. Like that. Instead of energy going in the primordial fundamental goodness, it turns into afflictive emotion and neurosis and ego. And as a result, all our energy become like a baggage, load, suffering, pain, confusion, chaos in our life. It's all your mind experience. Where does chaos and afflictive emotion come? Is your mind. Where is it? And if there is afflictive emotion and chaos and suffering happening, you can also see that. Oh, it is, yes, definitely I can see my anger is causing that. And then you can further go, what causes anger? Who is getting angry? What is the nature of that? You can further go deeper and see. So there is more power in wisdom than power in ignorance. Ignorance can only last for a certain temporal, but it can never last permanent, because it doesn't have the valid ground. It just simply couldn't stand when there's a presence of wisdom. It can just try to manifest, but moment its antidote is there, it will just dissolve. That's the nature of ignorance. It cannot stand in the presence of wisdom. So all is in our mind. Samsara is the mind. Nirvana is also the mind. Gradual level teaching is the mind. Gradually going higher is the mind. So therefore, since there are so many different levels of mental states, some people are more advanced, some people are less advanced. Based on that, when Buddha gave the teaching also, different mental disposition, different level of teachings given. Similarly in Christianity too. There is Baptists, there is Seventh-day Adventists, there is Catholics, there is Protestant, there is all of them. In Judaism also, those who are wearing black hat, very conservative, and those who are less conservative. Same thing in the Hindus. If you look at Islam too, they have Shias, they have Sunnis, and then they have furthermore Alawites and this and that. And I bet in shamans there must be even more. American Indians, probably the Sioux have different level than the Cheyenne. And then the Navajo, I'm sure they all have a little bit different based on their mental disposition. I mean, that's how the minds get attracted to a particular stage according to one's conventional mindset. Nothing to do with unconventional mindset. Unconventional mind is transcended, non-duality. But all these differences are happening not on the unconventional level. It's happening on a conventional level, relative phenomena. So, based on that, when we look at Buddhism, Buddha's teaching mainly divided into two parts, Tantra and Sutra. Sutra is causal path. What is the cause? Cause is the seed of enlightenment, Buddha nature. That's the cause. And through condition, like if you're a farmer, just the cause, seed, wouldn't give a birth by itself. You need the secondary condition. You need the water, heat, caretaking, all of those things. Once all primary cause and secondary condition comes together, then there is corn, rice, whatever, all the harvest. But without the primary cause and the secondary condition, if they don't come together, the primary cause will remain dormant. You may have a seed of a corn here, you just put it here, it will never grow. It requires its humidity, requires the right timing, requires all those conditions. Then together, then they'll be ripening. So in the Sutra teaching, it basically explained about Buddha nature, basic goodness, that you plant the seed of that, and then gradually through conditioned practice of, first shamatha meditation, you can say, then bringing vipassana inside, and then, accumulating of merit, whether it's prostration or then doing charity works and making dedication. And gradually, after planting all the seed, finally you see the result of basic goodness ripening into you after a long time. Like it takes like 3 or 4 months for harvest to grow on a field, likewise. In fact, it says it takes 3 endless years to get enlightened from the sutra path. It will be really tough. 3 endless years. Then on the other side, so therefore the causal level, causal vehicle with condition, that's the main focus, how finally one can get the result through that causal vehicle, which is, in other words, the vehicle of cause and effect, the conventional vehicle, the relative vehicle. Then there is the resultant vehicle. Now, resultant vehicle is called mantra yana, tantra yana, diamond vehicle. Man actually is interesting. Sanskrit word mind. We find many things. I'm not an expert in linguistic, but I think Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages. We all can agree. Perhaps, I don't know, it also has some affiliation with the Latin. Because man means mind in Sanskrit. And if you look English, mind. It's very similar. Man is Sanskrit word. So obviously, Sanskrit was one of the oldest language. Perhaps it's even much older than English. I would think so. I'm not expert. I can't promise you, but something like that. So from man, and likewise, I saw many other terminology, Sanskrit terminology, which are in English language also. So man means mind. Tra means protection. Mind protection, mantra. So now then, what is protection? What it is protecting and what is protection? Mind protection. We saw on the causal path, we need to It's a gradual path of cause and condition. Now here is not really looking for cause and condition, it's just directly showing the result. This is corn, this is apple, just directly. So in the tantric practice, tantra is it works on the subtle level. Therefore, tantra works with energies, subtle level, energies. Basically, it's called Tsa Lung Tigle in Tibetan. Tsa is channels, Lung is wind, Tigle is essence. The primary function of like our nerve system, like how the computer is made inside, how it all functions. Tsa Lung Tigle. Like we need a highway to move forward. That's like the tsa, the channels. And different energy spot, chakras. Cook Street, University, all the different stops. For example, without some stop, then we wouldn't know where to go. So different chakras, different energies. In fact, when you study Tantra, the layout of the world and layout of our phenomenal world is very similar. You can study Tantra by just looking at a city. The city or the town or village itself shows the whole Tantra. So basically, Tsa Lung Tigle, channels, wind, and essence. Those channel, wind, and essence they are the three kayas. The purified channels is Nirmanakaya. Purified wind is Sambhogakaya. Purified essence is Dharmakaya, which is the nature of our mind on a very deeper level of Tantra. Based on that, when a person learns Tantra, one learns subtle energies, primordial energy, in fact, which is your basic constituent. It started with Tsa Lung practice. There are many various levels of Tsa Lung practice. First, one try to take the essence of the element, called small vase, and then there's a larger vase. It says that the wind, the energy which passes the wind is like the channel is the highway, wind is like the horse, like our car today. Well, those days the example is horse, but today Toyota car, Honda car, Chrysler and Ford, whatever car, basically car. And the person, consciousness is riding. So the consciousness riding the wind and the channels are the highway. So our emotions, we have so many thoughts arising, emotion thoughts, so many, because we don't have balance and control to our wind, inner wind. I'm not talking just subtle wind, subtle inner wind. So in the tantric practice, in order to stabilize your mind and bring the essence, first one learns the small vase. We see the Buddha belly and we rub. Actually, small vase, those yogis, those who have small vase, because they take the essence, they have tremendous radiance from their face, because they're able to bring the pure essence. Same thing, they can consume the essence and have the health and longevity, dark hair, complexion, because of how they're able to contain the essence. This is a secret Mantrayana practice dealing with fundamental constituent. What we are dealing with, we kind of like step further away from the fundamental constituent, and now we're very much into the heavy constituent of its byproduct of flesh and bones, the energy which has, of course, this flesh and bone did came from that fundamental energy, from the fundamental constituent, but it's like way far. We kind of lost touch with our fundamental energy, fundamental constituent. So now we are dealing with gross element, gross energy, stagnated there. Therefore, we couldn't deal with purify. We lost the level of how to purify itself. Naturally, it has the potential to purify. We lost the ability to purify. We lost the ability to bring the essence, and then stability in mind, clarity in mind, in the complexion, our body, speech, mind, all those things get affected. Then, furthermore, since we don't have the essence, we lose essence in many levels. We lose essence in our strength. We lose essence in clarity. If the strength is not there, the clarity will not be there. For example, when you eat gross food, then your gross body gets energy. You need to eat, breads and butter and milk. When you eat those things, or meat, whatever, then you get element. It feeds that element. You get the gross energy to deal with the phenomenal world. Especially, whether it can be good and bad ways, gross phenomenal energy level. But when you're weak, your mind can get weak, your energies are weak, you could hardly function. What activities you're going to deal with. So that's how much dependence that we are on the grosser level of energy. Now Tantra goes deeper level of energy, how it works, fundamental deeper level of energy, how they levitate, We can all have the potential, but the tantric levitation comes from using the primal fundamental energy. The point is not to show off. In fact, all this tantric practice, one is never allowed to expose outside. Furthermore, one is to do like tantric practice before a student is shown how to do those things. One is to finish the Ngundu. Then after that, in the Dujum Tersa lineage, that these practices are done through the practice of Ajikilaya, dream yoga, Tumu, heat, illusory body, astral travel, dream, all these things. Then learning how to hold the essence, because the whole point is not to show off. The whole point is to see the fundamental goodness. That's the difference of Buddhist Tantra and the Hindu Tantra. In Buddhist Tantra, it's all finally related to that fundamental goodness. Fundamental goodness contains in your basic energy. It's basic, if it's not contained in your basic fundamental energy, then what's the point of Tantra? It makes no sense. In that three kaya nature, in the subtle level of body, three kaya is subtle level of body. Subtle level, for example, when we go to sleep, we experience subtle body. We see our body in our dreams, but it's not that gross body, what we see. You see your own body in your dream. That's subtle body. And when we die, we also have a subtle body, mental body. For example, when we see spirit and ghosts, we see similar. Man dies, we see the apparition of that man, or woman dies, we see apparition of that woman when they're stuck. So they don't have a gross body, but it's the subtle, habitual body, mental body, still lingering there, subtle body. So there's subtle some basis. Now when you look on the subtle basis energy of the Tantra, on the Tantric level, subtle body, then that, as I said, that fundamental energy contains in the subtle body of the three kayas in Latin. And therefore, the three kaya is the nature of the mind, is the three kaya is not just nothingness, it is the three thing, in fact, is completely like the sun and the sunshine. Union without the separation of three. You know, you can't separate the sun and the sunshine. They're one. Like that. Fire and the heat, sun and the sunshine, water and wetness, earth and solid, like the characteristic of that. The subtle body. So when you do tantric practice, you are seeing your subtle body. And of course you will not see that right away because it's obscured by your gross body. Your gross body, speech and mind, habitual pattern, which we have so much division. And of course you can say, when you go to sleep, you see your body, you see your speech, you see your mind. But actually when you wake up, neither there was a body, gross body, it's all just your mind. Who says there is three things? Seems like there is a body part, there's a speech part, there's a mind part. Actually it's just expression of the awareness. So that's, we can see how much we have come out of our fundamental base and how much right now we are trapped in this gross phenomena, mental gross habit, physical flesh and bones, and then subtle energies we couldn't relate, they're obscured, our nadis and channels are not clear. So now therefore in the tantric practice, one learn how to purify the channels, which is not in the sutra teaching at all. Such as when you do the cleansing of the three poison. You know, I taught before, those are all tantric practice. Dealing with the subtle energies, purifying this subtle, the remnants of those impurities, like cleansing it out. It says, for example, when you blow away from the nostril, the wind of anger and habits of anger and negative force of anger all exhale. Then the wind of desire, habits of desire, and all negativities connected with that attachment, all dissolve. Well, exhale. Exhale. In some other visualization, there is like a fire in front of you. There's a wisdom fire. When you exhale each time, it burns everything in that wisdom fire. Duality and all those things. And finally, when you exhale from both nostrils, then it's completely annihilated. All is duality, is condition, is habit, is gross energy, stagnant, all are like. Then after that, then you sit, and then you remain in natural primordial mind state. At that time, you're bringing the subtle awareness out. Subtle awareness is fundamental goodness. Gross experience is where we feel like stuck. Subtle awareness is compassion. Subtle awareness is energy, is wisdom. So for that, when we do the tantric practice, it's basically cleansing those obscure channels and purifying those habits and blockages. So there are many different methods in the tantric practice, how to bring about that. So now man means mind, tra means protection. You can't have a protection if you didn't see a basic goodness. The very source of protection comes from bodhicitta. That's what it protects, the emptiness. The shunyata, when you realize shunyata, then all reflective emotions and ignorance is transmuted. That mind transmute. Instead of that gross energy, you see its essence. Therefore, it's called transmute. So therefore, it's called mind protection. Seeing the nature of emptiness, mind protection. So it's directly, you are the student at that time, the mandala is open, empowerment is given. When the empowerment given, it uplifts the consciousness, purify the subtle energies of the student. And at that time, there's a meeting of teacher's mind and the student mind, which is about basic goodness, ultimate compassion and wisdom. And gradually, as that upliftment take place, then the student is empowered in that mandala, whether that mandala is the purification mandala of Vajrasattva, or increasing mandala of the Radhana family, or the magnetizing mandala of the Padma family, or cutting through mandala principle of karma family. Whatever the particular empowerment is at that moment, you're introduced to your basic nature. Now those five mandalas, in the center is blue, east is white, south is yellow, west is red, and north is green. So 5 with the mandala is based on the transmutation of the 5 wisdom from 5 passion, in fact. So since we already have passion, the essence of that passion is the very basis of mandala. The purity, the subtle body, that is the mandala, primordial purity. Without passion, it is said that without passion, there is no wisdom. That doesn't mean that person would have passion. Then if passion itself is, if that is the question, then the question will come. If passion itself is the wisdom, then what's the point for us to do meditation? There's no point. Everyone has passion. Everyone is enlightened. The dog is passion, So there's a joke one time in the Nyingma and Kagyu tradition. It says that since every being is enlightened with the nature, fundamental goodness, unconditioned, then in the Gelug tradition, it says that the Buddha nature needs to be cultivated. So then one time, if one is to cultivate, from the Nyingma and Kagyu tradition would say, if the Buddha nature is to be cultivated, then the Buddha nature is compounded phenomena. It's a conditioned phenomena. The nature of all condition is impermanent and it will decay. So it's impermanent. You cannot trust a conditioned state like that. It never makes sense. So there is some difference there. Of course, we can see any condition is impermanence. The nature of the mind is primordial. When you discover the nature of the mind, you don't find something new. Something new is not born there. You discovered which is already there all the time. You just awaken into that. Therefore, it's called awakening. It didn't say that it didn't say something new you saw. It's awakening, simply awaken into that. It's like the ignorance simply remove. You see, if ignorance simply remove doesn't mean that already has the implication that once that ignorance is removed, you just see what is there. If you don't know ABCD, there is always the antidote, we can say, or always the possibility of removing the ignorance of not knowing ABCD, because there is ABCD. Moment the child learns ABCD, the ignorance of ABCD no longer exists. 1, 2, 3, 4, a child who doesn't know that, there is always the moment you know 1, 2, 3, 4, the ignorance of not knowing 1, 2, 3, 4 is removed. Same thing, moment you see that, it's just awakening mind there, that ignorance is removed. So therefore it's unconditioned, it's primordial quality. You know. And as when you meditate, you can also experience gradually, step by step, basic goodness. Basic goodness, very, very deep meaning. It's basically talking about clear light. It doesn't mean that you're trying to be a nice human being on that grosser level of your habitual world pattern, which is very far out. Actually, we should be far in, not far out. We just step a little too far. So therefore, now mind protection comes from that natural awareness, basic goodness. Now, after receiving the empowerment, according to the tantric practice of deity, Dakini principle, Daga principle, there are 3 roots. It's called Lama, Yidam, Dakini. Lama, we can almost relate to fundamental goodness, meaning of Lama. Here in the tantric terms, very subtle level. Because even when you read the commentary on when you read the words of a perfect teacher, there's outer Lama, inner Lama, secret Lama. So here we are talking, when moment we talk about Tantra, you're already inside on that fundamental constituent. So Lama relates to fundamental awareness. Yit Tam. Yit means mind. Tam means protection, like secure. So one expresses, because fundamental constituent is the nature of 3 kayas, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya. Those are the terminology we use to our fundamental enlightened state. So the expression at that time, it could be peaceful, it could be wrathful, it could be increasing, it could be, magnetizing, whatever, all based on bodhicitta, shunyata, an expression of that. So yittam, that particular practice protects your mind. For example, let's look at example of Avalokeshvara. When you do the practice of Avalokeshvara, you got the empowerment of Avalokeshvara. Now you are doing the practice of Avalokeshvara. You visualize 4 hands, and you visualize the eye, nose. Each one of them there are 3 qualities in that. In all deities, the same understanding, fundamental understanding, covers the entire Lama Yidam Dakini principle. That principle is, when one brings that quality or the principle of the divinity, in this case, awakening state or basic goodness, that the tantric practice, the deity which is introduced to you, empowered to you, your basic goodness, you bring what is known as Vajra pride. That I am Avalokeshvara. You're not trying to be Avalokeshvara, but I am fundamentally Avalokeshvara. Because if you think I'm trying to be Avalokeshvara, you can never get rid of your ego. You can never transmute. In order to transmute, you need some deeper level of trust. That's where the devotion comes place. Of course, the devotion is also gradual. You work on the Hinayana level, you got more experience. You work further on the Mahayana level, you got further more experience. Then you go to the Vajrayana level, you got even more further, deeper experience. But then many cases, like when sometimes students are, fortunate, sometimes they just get the Vajrayana empowerment. That's good, and sometimes also with some drawback. Drawback is you don't, before you're ready, you're planning what it is. You just got into the hot soup. Either you enjoyed or you just like burnt. There's that danger and possibility to happen if the tantra, you don't know how to handle tantra. So anyway, once you then through the three qualities, sel, tak, tensum, Tibetan. Sel means clear, tak means purity, ten means firmness, stability. So I am Avalokiteshvara. Now when you think I am Avalokiteshvara, instantly we think, oh, 4 arms, 2 eyes. Looks very foreign, looks strange. Supposing you have 4 arms and you go to the town, people, I think, would get afraid. You would run away from you. And here, I express cosmic love, come in my 4-arm. So, but oh my goodness. I don't know, maybe when it's fully Avalokiteshvara, maybe we will all melt. I'm sure that's what compassion is about, and wisdom. But the very notion, meaning of 4 arms, simply it symbolizes the 4 immeasurable. It's the meaning which is expressed. It's not literal. If you take a literal, like 4 arms, first of all, then for a human, 4 arms is not that attractive. 2 arms is more attractive. So the whole meaning of that 4 arm is the expression of the 4 immeasurable. The 2 eye is an expression, it contains wisdom and compassion. It's primordial potential of 4 immeasurable. Chagya, like union, oneness, unity of that awareness, no duality. And there are many explanations of Tantra like that. So it's basically, when you visualize yourself into Avalokiteshvara like that, it brings about that all those qualities which you inherently have. Now, if you don't visualize into Avalokiteshvara, you think yourself, then soon with that identity of how you are used to as John or Mary or Kathy or whatever, oh, this is Kathy's home, this is Kathy's father, this is Kathy's mother, this is my friend, this is my enemy, this is my workplace. You see, all those mental habits and our gross duality which has been developed, they all come into being. You can never cut that attachment. You can never overcome that obscuration, because deep inside you are still holding and grasping to identity of a self, which actually fundamentally doesn't exist. There's such a self. So there's no possibility to transmute. So in order to transmute, you need to empower it in the divinity, and then like, I am that primordially, that nature. And it says very clearly in the tantric teaching, you cannot take literally. It is the expression, meaning behind, to bring about that quality in oneself. And you have like you need the full certainty and full trust and full pride, the Vajra pride, the primordial pride, in order to overcome the ego and then all the neurosis that we have formed, overcome that, transmute that. One needs that in the tantric practice, transmutation. This is how transmutation takes place. So when you do tantric practice, you have to go to retreat after getting empowerment. You just do like 1 session or 2 sessions, it's not going to work. So you go to mountains or some retreat place, secluded, Then stricter the retreat, outer inner secret retreat, the more powerful. You have to maintain visualization, then you have to maintain the shunyata, awareness. Then if you can really maintain well, and then you do like 1 month of retreat, then you can see tremendous level of that gross level of constituent where we are trapped, and our habits and emotion. We can truly see a transmutation and see fundamental goodness appearing. To the points when sometimes people literally see, when it's doing Avalokeshvara, some literally see them as Avalokeshvara. So much now that divinity, that primordial nature of enlightened mind is expressing. And then the potential to benefit being, because you transmute all those impure state into pure state. Transmute, which is your fundamental nature, fundamental goodness. So one is to do like a lot of mantras, one is to do like, a certain pause in your awareness through mindfulness, and until like you get a sign. Usually signs are many. You can experience enlightened awareness, which is called the absolute sign. Absolute sign is you can become enlightened. Relative sign, longevity of life, youthfulness, accomplishing all activities. Whatever you aspire will happen, because it's now tremendous power. And then no obstacle, because you transmute the neurosis, transmute that thing, so therefore enlightened activity, enlightened possibility. And then now the mind is protected. Mantra, mind is protected at that level, naturally protected. And whatever you do, it all goes in the right way instead of going in the wrong way. Therefore, joy all the time, bliss all the time. Tantra, mantra. Then Tantra is continuity now. Continuity of that awareness. Since you've transmute, now is the continuity. To put in simple word, there's the good Tibetan word is good, means continuity, like a thread, like you were beads, like all beads, like good. It's a continuity day and night. You are into that awareness awaken. Then diamond vehicle means indestructible. Now, once you've realized that, no neurosis can penetrate, no ignorance can confuse you. The very fundamental neurosis of sense of survival, the fear of survival not being there, is liberated. So the activity is phenomenal, infinite activity of 5 passion transmute into 5 wisdom. Like that. So for that, one requires quite a bit of discipline. The tantric diligence and tantric practice all the time. Compassion, your partner is compassion and wisdom. Without the compassion and wisdom coming together, there is no way you will be able to transmute such thing. It's cannot possible with this dualistic ego mind. Cannot possible to transmute. There is no way this mind can do. You can think about it. You can say, oh, that's a good idea. But this mind is limited. It cannot just cut through that. So in order to cut through that, you need deep insight transmutation. That's how the Tantra and Vajrayana works. Devotion at that time. Trust. The trust can happen as you keep doing the practice. Then you have much deeper view of yourself, shunyata. When you see emptiness, then that very notion of self, which limits you from being open, once that begins to dissolve, you see yourself more clear. Then devotion, there's the deep sense of trust you begin to gain in yourself. You begin to see how all thoughts you can liberate. It's like upliftment, transmutation. Upliftment comes from transmutation. Without transmutation, upliftment cannot come. So that's mean awareness, mindfulness, and the practice, diligence. And then gradually, at some point, then it can fully become oneness into that inner constituent of the three kayas. That's how Tantra is practiced. It requires devotion, compassion, and a big mind. Not judgmental mind. One who practices Tantra, if one has a lot of concepts, it's not possible. You need big mind, big compassion, able to laugh, able to joke, able to have sense of humor. If you're puritanical, that's not a tantric candidate. We can say almost like you see, puritanical, judgmental, all comes from the outer ring. From the outer ring of that gross constituent. It has no place in the primordial awareness. Primordial awareness is called Kuntu Zangpo, all good. It's transcended that obscure phenomena. So something very deep within you, which needs to be awakened. And of course, on the Mahayana path, we first try to put compassion, we try to act on, practice on that, cause and effect, and all those things. But then when one does Tantra, then you're working on the primordial level with empowerment, transmission. Then through the practice, gradually you see the awakening state. So lead more compassion. 16 root downfall of Tantra. When you practice Tantra, there are 16 root downfall and there are sub-downfalls which needs to be avoided. And you can find that in the text. What are the 16 root downfall? One is breaking the samaya with a lama. What does that really mean? Lama who shows your fundamental nature, the lama. Within lama, the different level of lama. Lama who generally shows you cause and effect is a general lama. Lama who introduces you the nature of the mind and give tantric empowerment is the root lama. It's called. Also furthermore, it says that Lama who introduces you to the nature of the mind and you get realized, that is like the root Lama also. The definitions are some Lama related like elder brother, some Lama related like your father, some Lama related like, for example, the teacher-student relationship in this sutra is called Kalyan Mitra, your spiritual friend. While in the Tantra, then it's like the Lama who directly introduces you to their nature through empowerment, through teaching, and then you meditate, you practice, and then you find realization. So now, for example, what will prevent us from realizing, one is, not disrespecting Lama. Criticizing women is the other downfall of Tantric Samaya. Because woman is the nature of emptiness, wisdom nature. So if you criticize a woman, prejudice, that's another root downfall in Tantra. Criticizing other religion also is one of the root downfalls of Tantra. And then there are various other root downfalls in the Tantric teachings. So it really requires a lot of strength. So you really have to be prepared from the Mahayana Sutra level with compassion and 4 immeasurables, 6 parameters, all this practice. Then finally you can deal with the subtle energies, how you can really transmute, go deeper. And then finally the Dzogchen, then this shows the ultimate nature directly, simply your awakened mind. And Dzogchen can transmute, all Tantra is transmitted, but Dzogchen is the highest level of Tantra. You may just think sometimes, if I meditate in emptiness, I will just feel spacious. That's it. It's far more than that. Foreknowledge, infinite activities, bliss. Because once you know what prevents us from experiencing fully bliss is duality, is ego, is neurosis. Once you've transmuted that, it has no place. It's saying once you go to the island of treasure, there is no ordinary stone. Everything is gold and diamond and like that, for example. Once there is no neurosis, everything is primordial goodness. And then there is always good, transcendent quality. Because the nature of all phenomena is transcendent. Emptiness is beyond all extreme, beyond all limitation. That's the nature. So the nature has to correspond with the reality. If the nature doesn't correspond with reality of shunyata, shunyata is reality. If the nature doesn't correspond with shunyata, there will be no bliss. Shunyata will be like pain. Then it's like, oh, what is shunyata? You know, when you see the truth of shunyata, you liberate the very fundamental fear of the survival. Then all the rest which comes with it is all transmuted, liberated. Then of course there is bliss and joy all the time. But the problem with us, why the word attachment is a big problem, we say, so many levels, from the all level, you know, even in the ordinary world, understand, if you're too attached, you can get into problem. Attachment, excessive attachment. I think in the ordinary world, we would say, don't be excessive attachment, because you can get into problem. In Dharma, it says you should cut the attachment from the Hinayana level. Mahayana, further deeper, you know, compassion, wisdom, there is no place for attachment. And we think, because we're so used to the fear of survival, if I don't have attachment, how am I going to enjoy? How my partner is going to know I love her, or love him, or love them, you know, whatever, if I don't get attached? Attachment has nothing to do with bliss. Attachment has nothing to do with joy. Attachment is just like a neurosis which you try to possess and shape them, mold them according to your neurotic mind. It has nothing to do. In fact, whenever we try to do that, we always get into problem. Whether it's a partner, family, friends, acquaintance, whatever it is, always we get into trouble. Because they have their idea how to mold you, you have your idea how to mold them, and nobody backs away, and both aggressive into how to do that, and of course there's problem, conflict. So attachment has nothing to do with reality. Attachment is simply pure neurosis. It comes from sense of losing something. So it's like a pain and, you know, a little bit joy you have, the attachment come and try to spoil it. There's no openness. It loses all the beauty. So, furthermore, when you practice Tantra, it says you need devotion, which is the most important thing in Tantra is devotion. But that also, devotion, no attachment. You practice incredible mandala, as big as universe, with increasing quality and purifying quality. At the end, you dissolve the whole thing and you let go. You remain in the primal state. The primal state fundamentally contains those qualities. Therefore, the very word in the sutra teaching, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. There is form in emptiness, there is emptiness in form, inseparable. We are not getting it because we are living outside. When you look deeper inside, then these qualities are there fundamental. We are so used to living in a divided world. Either yes or no. Either it exists or don't exist. Either it's good or bad. We never saw its primal quality. We just begin to see through our practice of meditation, little bit, step by step. And then we begin to taste that quality, pristine quality, which is fundamental, spontaneously accomplished. One of the words in the Tantra is spontaneously accomplished, fundamental. But whenever we try to get into it, because of our division of so much how we set up, it's so hard. Either for it's like nothingness or it's tangible, permanent something. We split into these two states. We couldn't just combine, we couldn't just see into oneness. It's not even a question of combining. There's no combining. It's itself fundamental oneness. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. There is form in emptiness, there is emptiness in form. It's just oneness. It's not like two threads put together. It's a fundamental quality in itself. That's how mind, not fall into any extreme, but simply awake, and that primordial quality. Like it says, compassion, aimless compassion, for example. Like the sun and the sunshine. Sun doesn't aim shining in Colorado or some other spot. It just simply shines and illuminates the darkness. Likewise, energy without any kind of self is fundamental awakening in itself. So that's your subtle level of the three kayas constituent. That's why we do all this, like Vajrasattva practice, prostration at the beginning, trying to get into the inner part from the outer part. And then tantric practice, just now you're bringing from the inside, all those things. And if one has a lot of obscurations, sometimes it's very challenging because our minds are so much into barricades, 1 wall, 2 wall, 3 wall, 5 wall. So many walls we are trying to get inside. And the inside light we just couldn't see. And then when we couldn't see, we give up. Oh, this is not possible, I can't do. I just go back to my old world. And when you get back to your old world, what is there? Neurosis, ego, afflictive emotion, confusion, suffering. That's what is there waiting for you. You cannot escape because you haven't transmuted. Until you are not able to transmute, they will all exist because hope and fear exists. Hope and fear comes from ego. As long as ego is there, there is hope and fear. As long as hope and fear, there is all kinds of obstacles in your life. Obstacle will never go away. There is male witch and female witch. It's called male spirit, female spirit. All kinds of obstacles in life. Problem of this, problem. All kinds come from the hope and fear. So the hope and fear only can be transmuted and liberated when we see shunyata. And that's the very essence of Tantra. Bringing that quality, the expression into divinity and the fundamental space of goodness, the union of the space and the energy, indivisible, primal, primordial quality. That's what Tantra is about. So something like that. Thank you. Yeah. If you have some questions, we can have a little period. 1 or 2 questions.
Rinpoche, first, thank you very much for teaching tonight. This is beyond great. Thank you very much. You started addressing Lama, Eden, and Dakini, but you didn't say much about the Dakini part. Please.
Lama, as I said, all of them, whether it's Lama, whether it's Yidam, whether it's Dakini, is the Lama principle, primordial awareness. The word Dakini means space goer. Space goer, space goer, ka do. Tibetan word is ka means space, do means goer, space goer. What that relates me, space is the wisdom of shunyata. Goer is all our expression, thoughts, which in that space, is all liberated. It's because subtle level of the subtle level of three kayas being fully awakened into the Dakini principle, wisdom Dakini. So therefore, mind is, when we talk mind, is the nature of clear light. Like there is a light. For the light to come, there's a space. The space has to be light in order for the light to come. The base has to be light in order for the light to express itself. Darkness cannot express light, but the light can express light. So the wisdom Dakini we call worldly Dakini and wisdom Dakini. Worldly Dakini is one who is not enlightened, but there are many different levels of Dakinis. Some are even flesh-eating Dakinis. We call witch, like that. That's also in the male principle also like that, male witch, and in woman, female witch. All kinds, different mental state, different thing. So what make a wisdom Dakini? Kando, space goer. We can also say, even in a worldly level, it goes. Because reality is always open. Even we do not see that openness, but in fact is functioning based in openness. If it's not openness, it'll be obstructed. You cannot have emotions and thoughts. You'll be just stuck with one. Even when we feel trapped in an emotion, but it's still moving, and we say the time heals, because the residue at some point, that pain, resentment, whatever, at some point it goes away, it heals, then you move forward. But in the Tantra, you're able to transmute that. You don't allow for it to build up, get to the outer ring, to the gross constituent. You're fundamentally always never, unbalanced from that awareness. So working on the spot. We are not working on the spot. We take 20 steps, then we try to work. By the time it's too late. Samsara takes over. Yeah.
Rinpoche, could you speak a little more about the relationship between the outer guru and the secret guru?
General guru and particular guru, in other words. Root guru versus general guru. There's the guru who shows cause and effect. There's the guru who introduces you to dharma. There's a guru who introduces you to the inner practice, who introduces you the nature of the mind finally, who empowers you. The three things: empowerment, transmission, and pith instruction, directly pointing out the nature of the mind. That is called root guru. So like that, there are differences. Yeah.
And also I have another question. You talked about the gross level of mind and then the subtle level of mind. Is there a very subtle?
Yeah, of course, you can say that. Basically, it's awakening. We can go to outer, inner, and secret, but basically we can also say outer and inner. Doesn't matter. Inner guru, outer guru. And it's just a word. Basically, this outer means when the external ring, then the internal ring is the secret, primordial, how it is. So one has to realize the inner. The whole point of relating with the outer is creating the auspicious circumstance so that you can realize the inner auspicious quality, your enlightened state. Yeah.
Thank you.
Here, Barbara.
Rinpoche, this may be more than one question. I can't tell. You decide. But so the Vajrayana flourished within certain context. There was Indian, Vajrayana began in India. We have the 84 Mahasiddhas. Then Guru Rinpoche Santaraksha brought Vajrayana to Tibet. Buddhism spread to different countries, and in every country, it's developed its own culture and its own way of responding to and practicing the teachings. Now, I know it might be a little premature to think about American Buddhism, aspects of the phenomenal world or dispelling obstacles or whatever, but so for me, and I think for a lot of us as Westerners, devotion to various, like when I think about, like even Guru Rinpoche, I see his statue and I think, oh, he brought Vajrayana to Tibet, he introduced some teachings, miraculous 8 manifestations, hid lots of terma, but that doesn't open my heart. It doesn't increase bodhicitta. The only time that it does, really, is through Guru Yoga, when you learn to identify that figure with the Lama. And then maybe some devotional quality arises. But I hate to say this, because in a way it's a horrible confession, but otherwise a lot of these things don't really touch me. And I have limited time, so I want to do what's essential. I don't know if that was a question.
No, I understand your question. I hear very clearly. First of all, it has nothing to do with, Vajrayana has nothing to do with Tibetan culture. So you're wrong in that. It is the culture of neurosis we are dealing with. That's why out of the 3 qualities, principle of clarity, and purity, and firmness, those 3 qualities of the mind protection of the deity. Purity, when the Vajrayana was introduced to Tibet, first of all, Vajrayana was a discovery of enlightened mind. It's not a discovery of dualistic mind. Secondly, Vajrayana was brought from India to Tibet. It's nothing to do with Tibetan culture. And then thirdly, the Vajrayana principle of purity, fundamental in order to cut that self, the notion of self we are stuck with, that which brings all neurosis and impurity. In order to transmute that, you need to have the Vajra pride. Without that Vajra pride, it is not strong enough to overcome that and transmute that. So you can see it's directly working with the neurotic culture, our confused mind. It has nothing to do with Tibetan, no it has to do with the Indian, no it has to do with American. It is simply a personal, in fact it's become very personal. Someone who is confused, not enlightened, how we are stuck on that outer ring, as I said, gross culture, and then subtle level of, opening, awakening, not seen, that's where we need the strength. So to some, it would take few lifetimes before they can really penetrate deeper. To some in 1 lifetime, to some 16 lifetimes. And as we said, on the causal path, it takes 3 endless years before one can really penetrate deep and able to transmit things. So it's a very individual level of practice. So it's not a gimmick, try to subdue a demon, a little spirit here and there. It is talking about the ultimate demon of ego and duality and neurosis, transmuting that. Those are just simple things. If Buddhism is reduced to subduing little demons, then Buddhism loses flavor. Buddhism is more than that. If you look at the Buddhist teaching, wisdom and compassion, that is far beyond simply, some shaman trying to with a dance and trying to get rid of some little spirit. Those are easy thing, very small thing. Working with this inner transmutation, this big demon of ego, that is a tough one. And that will take you all the power and strength and merit and gut you have, you got to use it. And for that, it will depend on each individual. Some may attain faster realization, some may be lesser. Depends on their karma, how much negativity karma is there, how much obscuration is there. As some people come out of anger quickly, some takes a long time to come out of anger, based on one's individual obscuration. So that's what we're dealing in the Dharma. It's not just like trying to, get rid of a little bit of spirit here and demon there. That you don't have to practice Buddhism. You can just, do a little bit of shamanistic practice. You can easily do that. But here we are talking far deeper transmutation, transforming 5 passion into 5 wisdom. That's pretty deep. And that requires all the best shot you can give for immeasurable and 6 paramita. And then finally transmutation, bringing the 3 kayas level, then it's possible. Otherwise it's not possible. So I think we need to understand much deeper than that. Yeah, you're welcome. So now I think today let's do the world peace prayer. I will take question next time. It takes time to penetrate deeper. It really takes time to transmute. We are talking not even transformation, we are talking transmutation. That will take strength. And then you understand, through purity you understand who Padmasambhava is. Because Padmasambhava's nature and your nature is same. That's what we're talking about. If we don't understand purity, then we will see the cultural aspect. Oh, that's something to do with Asian culture. Even Tibetans don't understand Vajrayana. Only Tibetan lamas, yogis, yoginis who practice, they understand. General Tibetans, most common Tibetan businessmen think that Buddha is the creator of this world, just like any other eternalistic. They don't know anything about Dharma. Very little. So it's only a Vajrayana student is able to understand these things. Okay. So, but slowly, slowly, we will get into it. From outer ring, we will get to inner ring, and then finally, we will get into it. So that's the good news. We will get. Every being has an enlightened Buddha nature. That means every being has to be enlightened at some point. It could be a few million years, but it will be, there will be end. Really, to some in this life, to some in few lives, some in 16. Actually, in the tantric teaching, it says, once you receive a tantric empowerment and then you practice tantra, the longest it will take a person to get enlightened is 16 life. After 16 life, one will get enlightened, just maintaining the tantric samaya. That's the longest according to the tantric teaching. So we're not even talking 3 endless years, we're talking longest. And then the question is, in Tibet, early they were fortunate. The conditions really supported the Dharma. So there are lamas who went through 16 years of retreat. I think if a person goes for 9 years retreat, with clear instruction from the teacher, without that, of course, you can do 20 years, nothing will happen. With clear instruction, and you do 9 years, definitely one will get enlightened. 9 years. It's possible in 1 year too. Depends on your how much obscurations, defilements you have in your mind. The question is, moment that is purified, you awaken. So in the tantric practice, 1 lifetime enlightenment, is it possible? 100% possible. But is it challenging? Yes, because we have to deal with this mind. So much distraction, so easily gets scattered away. So it will be challenging, but it's possible in a lifetime. Now in the West, it's a little bit difficult because condition. We are born in a condition. As much as it's a beautiful country, there's a heater in the winter, air condition in summer, everything. But we've got to work hard for that. So that takes away many other things. Condition takes away your time to be able to go to 9 years of retreat. You know, you can't, very hard to survive for people to do. And even if they have time, then again we're distracted for some other excuses. That's also the thing. So, but is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Now today there are a number of Westerners, you know, going in Europe, in France, doing 3 years, 6 years, 9 years. In fact, I would say one of the first Westerners to get enlightened, as far as the recent I can think, is a Frenchman, Mr. Jericho. You know, he was a member of he was a former member of parliament, and when he died, he remained in meditation. You know, there's a very, the three things, heart, tongue, and eye, all in one, like the tantric of sign of realization of the three kai. He expressed all of this when he died. He was in meditation, everything. Quite extraordinary sign happened. And I heard a long time ago, in ancient time, one of the first Westerners to get enlightened was a Greek prince, perhaps Arahat state achieved. Then in the recent times, I can think, you know, it's a question how much you really put your effort into it. And those signs and things do happen. And Mr. Jericho, you know, he went to retreat for many years. He became, you know, he gave up everything. He became a monk. You know, it's your choice. You can be enlightened. You don't have to be a monk. Laymen and women can get enlightened. We have the same qualities. But you need to create the right condition. Without the right condition, then it'll be difficult. So it's just a question of how much you put your mind. And between enlightenment, so here, if it's difficult, please don't worry. I'm the agent here. If you trust me, then I will be telling you, you know, what steps to go. You're not without any support. You have your Sangha, you have the Lama, you have the world to work with. All beings ready tomorrow morning. When you go out, you can practice. Yeah. So anyway, like that. Thank you. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities and merit and prosperity greatly increase. And may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities and merit and prosperity greatly increase. And may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities and merit and prosperity greatly increase. And may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience,
and thus defeat the neurosis and negative actions which are the enemies, from the turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may all beings be liberated.
Thank you. Thank you. So wonderful. So please practice Dharma. All the time keep in mindfulness your bodhicitta. That's the main thing. Bodhicitta. Relative bodhicitta, absolute bodhicitta. Meditation, awareness of compassion. Very, very important. Once you have it, not much things can go wrong. Gradually, transmutation can happen. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So next Thursday will be Rinpoche's final teaching for this trip here. So please come and bring your friends and family. So that'll be at 7 o'clock on Thursday. And then on Friday evening will be a really special night at 6 p.m. we're going to be having some appetizers and drinks, and then Rinpoche is going to be giving a slideshow of all of his travels and adventures and work and amazing Dharma work in Asia. So it's great to see what he's been up to. So please come. And then, one more thing is that we're starting on Monday the 20th. So not this Monday, but the following Monday. The center will be open Mondays and Fridays from 6:30 in the morning until 7:30 in the morning. So Rinpoche has said he's really encouraging us to come and do practice in such a sacred place and do practice together as a Sangha. So please come.